Just you win.
Welcome to Get Your Bell Rung Pro Wrestling Podcast. This is the AEW All Out and WWE Wrestlepalooza recap. I am your host, KG Landry, and with me, as always, is the wrestling enthusiast, Mark. What's going on, my man?
Not much, brother. Just enjoying a nice fall day.
Yeah, it is beautiful outside. Let's get right into this. We have a lot to go over. We're going to start off with out, but before we do, I want to talk about something that seems to be all over the internet right now, what everyone's talking about, which was the announcement by The Undertaker, Stephanie McMahon being inducted into the 2026 Hall of Fame. And, you know, sometimes I hate that I have access to all the shit people are saying. Because there's so much negativity out there. You know, there's people crying about, oh, this is nepotism or she doesn't deserve it. And this is my response back to these individuals. Were you not fucking watching the Attitude Era? Maybe not. Maybe these idiots are too young. But for those who are complaining and crying, who never watched the Attitude Era, let me say this. Stephanie McMahon was a huge part of the Attitude Era. Stephanie McMahon actually played a huge role in WWE programming, starting around the Attitude Era, going into the
Ruthless
whole
aggression.
Ruthless Aggression, even into some barely a little bit of that PG era, right? But she absolutely earned to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. And for those who are old enough who remembered the Attitude Era, I look at you kind of even worse than when I look at the young ones who are complaining, because you guys know this. You guys were a part of the Attitude Era. You guys watched everything that Stephanie McMahon done, even Shane McMahon, but more so Stephanie McMahon and even Vince McMahon. We would have not really had the Attitude Era if it wasn't for Vince McMahon and his role as Mr. McMahon. A lot of people tuned in to see what was going to happen with Vince McMahon, with Stone Cold Steve Austin, but as well as Stephanie McMahon as well. I mean, there was those moments between Jericho and Stephanie McMahon, which I remember so fondly, because just the shit Stephanie was taking for Chris Jericho, calling her a hoe and everything else. Man, this negativity by these so-called fans is getting to the point that you're having really big internet issues today.
I don't know. You're fading out on me too. So,
but yeah, it's getting ridiculous.
I totally agree. I think she has enough presence in front of the camera and behind the scenes that I don't have any issue with her going in the Hall of Fame. She was a huge contributor to both eras of wrestling in the early 2000s and mid 2000s. You mentioned Jericho, but her and The Rock had some good go rounds too. Her, Rock, and Jericho had some good go rounds. Was she the most proficient performer in the ring? No, not necessarily, but not everybody can be a 10 out of 10 all the time. But no, by all means, she's earned it. She deserved it. And even if she wasn't in front of the camera as much, her backstage presence and what she did with the women's division warrants it.
Absolutely. I mean, even to, her and Stone Cold had some things that they did, not as much as The Rock and Chris Jericho, but nonetheless. So I personally, I'm going to say congratulations to Stephanie McMahon. I think you earned this. And look, those who think that this whole thing was fake last night, her reaction, if this indeed was scripted, she deserves an Oscar because just the expression on her face when the Undertaker made that announcement. I mean, it said it all for me as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, no, if it was scripted, she did a nice job. I wouldn't say Oscar worthy, but she did a fairly good job. She was fighting back tears. I saw a clip of Triple H backstage, and he was pretty elated over it. He looked like he was fighting back tears. Um, but overall, the only thing I took exception to was I thought it was a bit early to announce next year's uh, entrance already because it usually starts in
Right.
January. But if that's their thing, that's their thing. I'm not going to sit there and knock it. It just took me by surprise.
Right. No, yeah, we were both
I
shocked
had no
that,
idea when the Undertaker came out and sat next to her, where this was going and what it was leading to, you know.
right.
And when he announced it, I was like, wow, holy shit, that's early, but okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
no,
And
overall, I got no quorum.
right. I mean, and I agree with you. I was pretty shocked. Not that she was being inducted, but the fact that they announced it so damn early. But let's get into the All Out pay per view last night. Starting with the pre show, we had Samoa Joe and Powerhouse Hobbs, the Ops, going against the Workhorsemen, Anthony Henry and JD Drake. Uh, with no surprise that the Ops won this match. This was a pretty quick match. Next, we go to Daniel Garcia against Shibata. Daniel Garcia won this match with the help of the Death Riders. Now, one thing that did happen was Magic. What is his partner's name? The guy that was always with
Matt,
him. Was that? Sorry, guys. We were having some serious technical difficulties for whatever reason today. Give me 1 second.
yes.
All right. Nope, they can't hear us because I can't hear you. So what was his name again? Matt
Oh,
what?
Matt, I think. Matt, no, I don't. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, I can't remember his name. Nonetheless, he was at the announce table. He tried to get involved in far as asking Daniel Garcia, why are you
Garcia.
doing this? Yeah, Garcia basically ignored him. Next, we had Hologram, Kawarati, and Roderick Strong. They defeated the Frat House. I'm not sure what they're doing with Griff Garrison. I think he's a talented young man, but apparently AEW doesn't think as highly as maybe I do. Next, we have the Willow Nightingale, Queen Aminata, Nina Shakira, and Harley Cameron. They defeated Megan Bain, Penelope Ford, uh, and the Triangle of Madness in an 8-woman tornado tag gate brawl. It was what it was. I can understand why this would be on the pre-show. All Out, after that match begins, we start off with Adam Copeland and Christian Cage versus FTR. Copeland and Cage defeated FTR. But man, this was a pretty good match. The big shocker, of course, was Beth Copeland. She made an appearance post match. There was chaos happening, including a spike power driver on Beth. Now, before this happened, we seen Beth Phoenix come out. She went after Stokely. She put Stokely on her shoulders and carried him backstage, which was great. But apparently, Beth Phoenix is making she made her debut, and this just was it wasn't a one-off because of what happened after the match. We seen Edge gets handcuffed to the ropes. Pretty good action. What were your thoughts on it, Mark?
Beth Phoenix held nothing back when she went after FTR. I thought that was pretty slick. But yeah, she went over after. It looked phenomenal. I like the fact that she actually didn't try to uncuff her husband first and went for the pound and ground, I guess.
Right.
Um, overall, I enjoyed this match. It's hard not to enjoy it when you got Edge and Christian back together. I think that's a bigger coup.
Yeah. Hey, Mark, if you can hear me, I'm gonna drop you. Try to come back up because your connection is just absolutely terrible. All right, guys. So we'll move on while we wait for Mark to come back. Next we have Edge, Eddie Kingston versus Big Bill. We see Eddie Kingston with the win. But man, that was a terrible, terrible win as far as him doing that back slap or whatever you want to call it, that move he does. He clearly missed Big Bill, but Big Bill still hit the ground, which gave Eddie Kingston the win. After the match, Brian Keith and Big Bill attacked him. Hook made his surprise return to help Eddie Kingston. Hopefully that will help Mark that, that you don't have so many problems. We're talking about the Eddie Kingston and Big Bill match. Talking about that, Eddie Kingston's finish, man. He completely missed Bill. Everyone, even the announcers said, oh, he missed it. But yet Big Bill still went down and Eddie went for the pin, which he got. Then we seen Hook come out because of the attack by Brian Keith on Eddie Kingston. Obviously, on Wednesday night, we heard Hook make the statement that the ops weren't his only friends. He had someone else that he can hook up with. Apparently, he was talking about Eddie Kingston.
Yeah. No, Big Bill, I think is for his size is a phenomenal talent. For his size, you don't see big guys that can move like him, to be honest. And he's in incredible shape. Um, Kingston, he looked like he was probably a step off, little ring rust or whatnot. Nonetheless, I was happy to see him. I really enjoyed it, Kingston. Um, for what he's done versus TNA because he's pretty much just a manager in TNA, and the fact they're using him as a wrestler, even though he's maybe a tad out of shape. I enjoy him. I enjoy his promos. I think the guy is honest. I think he's real, um, and maybe a little unhinged. I don't know, but I enjoy his work.
Yep. Yep. Now, do you think that they should have done an audible when Eddie Kingston, that his finisher, obviously he didn't make, or it didn't appear he made contact to the point that
Contact.
even the point that the color commentary had mentioned it. Or is it one of those things that they're just kind of going through the motions because of how the match was supposed to go.
I think there's something underlining, whether it was Bill or Kingston. I'm thinking it was Kingston, but I think because the way they called it, so he missed that one and he still got the pin right away. I think it wasn't audible to end the match right quick in a hurry, to be honest. That's
Yeah,
my thoughts.
poor Eddie Kingston. This is the second time that because people are talking about it right already on in the social media world, professional wrestling social media world, and I feel bad for Kingston in the fact that this happened to him, and then 3 or 4 years ago there was that explosion match, whatever it was called, that the explosion wasn't anything at all, and yet he still went through emotions where he got knocked out. Of course, they explained that as his anxiety, tried to save. I think it was Brian at the time, Danielson. But yeah, I am glad to see Eddie Kingston back, though. I think he adds a lot to AEW.
Oh, I think he's a vibrant um, competitor. I guess is the best way I can put it.
Yeah,
He,
yeah,
his ring work is probably not the strongest, but on the mic, he's pretty damn good. I think.
right, right. Next, we go to the tables and tax match. Mark Briscoe versus MJF. Uh, you know, on paper, when I seen this match, I'm like, as much as I like Briscoe, as much as I like MJF, I didn't think I would like this match. this was a pretty good match. It was pretty damn entertaining. No shocker that there was color involved. What surprised me was that MJF was the one that lost the match, considering that he just lost the CMLL title the previous night. So good for Mark Briscoe for getting that win.
Yeah. That's the thing too. I mean, you look at MGF, one night he's in Mexico, the next night he's in Canada. I mean, that's a lot of travel for one guy overnight.
Yeah, it is.
And I'm sure he wasn't, 100%. I mean, I wouldn't be 100%, flying that much, you know, and no, MGF put on a good match. I think he was reprehensive about taking the tax that he took or whatnot. You can say they were filed down. You can say they stick because of the sweat, whatever. You know, there's still, you can see on their bodies, there's still some penetration or whatnot. That's
Right.
still got a sting, you know. So I don't care how you want to try to cover it up or lighten the load or make it look better or whatever. They're still being punctured, you know, and it's got to hurt and it's got to sting. MGF did a lot of good selling. I was surprised Briscoe got the win too, to be honest. Um, Briscoe continually impresses me with his in work ability. Unfortunately, I think his brother's death has only made his career better, to be honest. And it's
Right.
sad to say that it took something like that to elevate him. But and maybe it's wrong to utilize that to elevate him, but it's wrestling, and I've seen worse.
Yeah, Mark, you're still having some terrible issues, man. I'm not sure if it's because of where you're standing at. But just that you know, also Terry Zeller, also professional wrestler, he performed for WWE, amongst many other places. He said, "Good afternoon, gentlemen. Terry, thank you for joining us." Also, Terry says tax suck. So, I mean, this is again a former professional wrestler, a man who trains professional wrestlers, who's telling us that those tags absolutely suck. And like I said, you can see the pins of the tags, you know, still on these tags. You can see the penetration marks of where they went through both Briscoe and MJF. And look, man, they were taking some brutal moves. I mean, we're talking about power drivers on these tags. You see them in the heads, especially of Briscoe because he's bald headed. Yeah, it was brutal, man. Nonetheless, very entertaining.
I'll again.
Was that Mark? No, I think he's going to try to find a better space. Next was the trios match: Ricochet and Gates of Agony versus the Hurt Syndicate. Um, and you know, I didn't know what to expect with this match, but this turned out to be one hell of a match. Uh, I was shocked that Gates of Agony actually got the win MVP. He took the pin, which I think is a good idea. That protected Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin. All right. But yeah, damn good match. Mark, we're talking about the trios match, man. And I was saying I didn't know what to expect with this match, but by the end of this match, I was really impressed. And I said, thus far, that was definitely the match of the show to that point. Your thoughts?
I'm drawing a blank here. Who was in the trios?
It
The three of
was
them.
with Ricochet and Gates of Agony. All
Gates
right,
of
more.
Agony. Yeah,
Yeah, I'd
you
say
there?
you're freezing, so you're freezing a lot. Maybe if you try to move inside to where you do it as well,
Yeah.
see if that
All
works.
right. All right. All right. Gotcha.
All right. All right. Sorry about that, guys. I'm not sure what's going on his end. He's just having some difficulties that happens when you're doing live shit at times. Um, but again, this was a really, really good physical match. Uh, MVP looked amazing. This guy is 49 years old, I believe, and he can absolutely still go in the ring. He looked really, really good. Of course, Shelton Benjamin, Bobby Lashley, they always look good. Uh, but to me, it was Gates of Agony that stole the show. These guys have been with AEW for quite a while. And they've been taking a lot of losses. They were basically used as the jobbers, if you will. But they teamed him up, these guys of Gates of Agony, with Ricochet, and I think that that was a brilliant move on part of creative, because it really has added to Ricochet, and as well as it's added to Gates of Agony. So I'm really, really happy that these guys are being featured the way they are. They're a team that they look amazing. They look threatening. Uh, I predict that, here soon, hopefully in the next, 6 months or whatnot, that we're going to see Gates of Agony get those tag team titles. Next was another match that I was super surprised at how well this match was. It was Mercedes Moné versus Rio. Look, I am not a fan of Monet, and I'm not even a fan of Rio. But I tell you what, this match was so damn good. Um, Rio really showed just how amazing she is in the ring. I mean, she can absolutely go. She's not afraid to put herself out there. And look, Mercedes Monet, like it or not, there you are. All right.
Sorry.
Nope,
We'll
you're
try
good.
this again.
Yep, nope, it sounds better already. So I was talking about Mercedes Monet, but I'll go back to the trios match so we can hear. I want to hear your feedback on that. Talk about Ricochet at Gates of Agony versus the Hurt Syndicate. I was saying that I was really surprised that uh, Ricochet at Gates of Agony actually won this match. Um, but with the MVP taking that pin, it protected Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin. And man, Gates of Agony and Ricochet, they're phenomenal together.
I think so too. I think so. I think it was a great pairing. Um, I've always liked Gates of Agony. I always thought they were underutilized. Now they're with Ricochet, and I think it's just a good pairing. Yes, I was utterly shocked that they got the win, but again, you've said this before. If there's a team in AEW that could take on Hurt Syndicate and pound for pound match them, power wise, it's Gates of Agony. Um, no, this was. And I wasn't shocked by this match at all, other than the fact that Gates Agnew and Ricochet won. Um, this was a good match. I'm always impressed with Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin, especially since one's in his 50s and the other one's pushing towards 50. MVP looked great, and he's 51, I think. I think he's a year older um, than Shelton
Yeah.
Benjamin. And for a guy that hasn't seen a ring probably in what, 6 months, a year, other than independent bookings, MVP looked pretty good.
Yep, he did. Like I said, up to that point, that definitely was the match of this pay-per-view. But then we had Mercedes Monet versus Riho. And I was just saying, man, I am not a big fan of Monet. I'm not even a fan of Riho, but holy shit, this match was tremendous. Rio, for her size, she's not afraid to put herself out there. Mercedes Monet, even though I'm not a big fan of hers, look, it seems like each and every pay-per-view, she's getting better and better and better. Um, and this was the match that stole the show at that point.
Yep, yep. Again, I reiterate with you that I'm not a fan of Monet. I'm not going to discredit her saying she sucks or anything. She's just not my cup of tea. I think the whole 8 belt, 9 belt, or whatever it is ridiculous. I don't see how it's warranted, but you know what? Somebody does, and somebody's saying that should do it. Um, but no, this match was it exceeded my expectation. And as far as her in ring ability, I don't know if it's the competition she's facing that's elevating her and helping her make her look better, or she's legitimately getting better and more comfortable in an AEW ring.
Right.
Um, but yeah, no, I won't discredit this match. It was good. It was very good, and it far exceeded my expectations, to be honest.
Right. I agree. Mercedes Moné retained the TBS title, defeating Riho. Next, we went to the match between Akata, Takeshita, Dorada for the AEW Unified Championship. Okada did retain the match in this triple threat, but another good match, man.
Yes, it was. But I think, yeah, and you stated this yesterday when we were watching it, that it probably would have been a better match if it was just Okada and um, Tashida. No,
Yeah, Takeshita.
yeah, yeah. Um, but Dorado, for his credit, being the
Right.
smaller of the three, he did add quite a bit to the match. And yes, it was a good match.
Right. And to your point, and yeah, I said that and I stand by it. I think it would have, when I say better match, what I mean by that is I think the fans want to see Okada versus Takeshita more so than the match we seen last night. The match was fine. I enjoyed it, but like I said, I think the fans wants to see the Rainmaker versus Takeshita. Now, this is a
Takeshita,
question
that's his
that
name.
Takeshita, that's it.
Yep.
Yeah,
We're so bad
Takeshita.
on slaughtering names.
God, yeah, we suck. I just suck at speaking, period. So, but and I made this comment last night that if one of them was to turn babyface, I personally think it would be, pronounce his name again, Takashita,
Takeshita.
Takeshita, Takeshita. I personally think that it would be Takeshita instead of the Rainmaker, just based upon if they listen to the fans. It seems the fans gives Takeshita a little bit bigger pop than the Rainmaker, but the Rainmaker definitely has his fans. I mean, he gets a pop as well. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think Takeshita would be the one to turn face. From everything I've seen about him out of the ring, he's just a nice guy, generally all around. And I'm not saying Okada isn't, but I
Right,
just read more about Takeshita being, a family guy and just very humble and, you know, but I think that's the culture too. I think
right.
Japanese are more humble than, and I'm an American, I'm proud of it, but I think they're more humble than we are, to be honest.
Yeah,
Um, and but Takeshita, I think he's just got the ability to turn face better than Okada. Okada just comes across as somebody you just want to slap. Um, I would definitely love to see these two go head to head. Um, I think what hinders these guys is the storylines,
mhm.
and their lack of translation, I guess. They'd probably sell out the Superdome in Japan, to be honest. But
Yeah.
here they'd be lucky to draw 5,000 people, which is
I
a
don't.
shame because they're great talents.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think these guys, both of them, are over um big time. I think they would put ass the seats here. Now, as far as this is what I love about Okada. He doesn't really have this massive catchphrase, except for one word, which is bitch. I don't care how many times I hear that, it cracks me up. Absolutely cracks me up. I like Okada a lot. When he first came to AEW, I wasn't very familiar with him. It took me a bit to warm up to him, but yeah, I love him. I think he is a really, really great talent in AEW. Next, we go to a match that one of the matches that I really wasn't interested in seeing, to be honest with you. Um, but again, AEW does what AEW does. We see shit on paper and we're like, and then we see the match and we're like, holy shit, this was a good match. It wasn't by means the best match on the card, but it was still a good match, which was the coffin match, John Moxley versus Darby Allin. Um, Moxley defeated Darby Allin. One of the big takeaways was Pac made his return, helping to finish Darby Allin, which got Moxley to close the lid. Now, I'm going to be honest, fans. Mark and I both missed this because we thought the match was over. We thought the attack was over. So we stepped outside to have a quick smoke before the next match. We came back in, and my son, who was watching with us, said, "Man, you guys missed Darby Allin setting Moxley on fire in a body bag." I'm not heartbroken that I missed that because this is the shit that drives me nuts that I think just goes over the top. Your thoughts on the match and your thoughts on Darby Allin setting Moxley on fire.
Actually, I think the setting on fire happened after the next match or two. I don't think it
Okay,
happened directly
right,
afterwards.
right, you're right.
I could be wrong. The match itself, you got to give Darby Allin that credit because he's the Chihuahua taking on a pit bull, you know, and doesn't back down. The match itself was okay. I didn't agree with the screwdriver to the ear or whatnot, um, and the headshots with the screwdriver I didn't agree with. Plus, it looked pretty horrible to be honest. But the match itself was decent, and I enjoyed it. Um, on paper, yeah, this doesn't click with me, and in the ring, it didn't click as well as I would have liked it to. But it is what it is, and it was a fairly decent match. I think Pac coming back and him throwing him on that coffin outside, that had to hurt just the way he landed on that thing. I mean, there's no other way to put it. I mean, he hit the divider of the casket in his upper back, and you could see it. The I don't know, there was probably an inch and a half, or yeah, inch
Yeah,
to an inch and a half. Um, separation between the two. And I'm like, God, that just gotta hurt. So you got to give Darby Allen credit for his pain threshold.
yeah. Look, I didn't mind the screwdriver thing. It's AW. They're
It's their
somewhat
shtick.
right, and it was only one match that this happened in. Now, if we'd have had more of this nonsense and multiple matches, I would completely agree with you about that. Matter of fact, you know, one thing that drove me nuts about the show was we seen multiple times of someone doing a German suplex, um, and it was like three or four people at once going right, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on with AEW, but people need to communicate. It should only be done, and one person should have done that in their match, because when you start having multiple people doing it in different matches, it takes away from the experience of watching it and that oh shit moment. Although that's not a huge oh shit moment, nonetheless, it takes away from when you've seen it in the first match.
The
So
novelty of it.
yeah, it does. So I that's one thing that AW is so guilty of over and over again. I wish they would get a better handle on that. But next, we go with a four-way match for the AW Women's World Championship. Tony Storm versus Jamie Hayter versus Chris Statlander versus Tekla. This was the shock of the night, with Chris Statlander actually winning that match and becoming the new women's world champion.
And Chris looked just as shocked as anybody, I thought. So I don't know if this was an audible call, and for some reason, they decided last second to put it on Chris, you know. But yeah, when she got the title and got the win, she just looked as shocked as anybody else. Like, oh my God, I won, you know.
Right.
So if you want to talk about Grammy performances, Chris probably did it. And Tony Storm sold her shock and
Oh my
dismay,
God. She did.
better
She
than
looked
anybody.
so well. She looked shocked, and the fact is that she actually pinned Tony Storm, and the way she pinned her, she a seatbelt pin. I mean, yeah, everyone was shocked. Everybody in that match when Chris got the pin, everyone looked shocked. But Tony Storm really sold it. She just had that "what the fuck just happened" look on her
Yep.
face.
Yep. Best supporting actress on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Next, we go to another match that was, in my opinion, so damn good. We're talking about the World Tag Team Championship ladder match. Brodito versus Young Bucks versus Jet Speed versus I'm going to butcher this name, Hichichero and Josh Alexander. Um, Again, man, this was such a good match. It was hard hitting. Some of the shit we seen on the ladder. Look, as much as I am not a fan of speedball, look, this guy deserves a huge pat on the back because he attempted to do a flip and land. I don't even remember who he was supposed to be landing on, but he landed on his ankle going through that ladder, and I thought, I even said he's done. He's not getting back in the match. He just broke
Right.
his ankle, and I'll be goddamn if we didn't see him less than 5 minutes later back in the match. And look, doctors were checked on him. I mean, it looked brutal
It
that
did. It
that
did.
fall.
And
And
not only
yeah,
that, but he climbed the top rope.
right,
You know.
right,
No, yeah. When he attempted that, because the ladder was on a rope and on another ladder, whatnot, so it was bridged across, and and you could tell by just the way he was looking and years of experience of watching wrestling, this kid was going to try a backflip onto this guy's shoulders or chest or whatever else, and he ended up landing wrong, and just the way his foot went through, it just you just went, ooh, God, that didn't look good. And yeah, you could have swore he broke his ankle. I'm like, yep, no, that guy's done. I'm like, if he shows up on Wednesday night, he needs a medal.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, and not like you said, not even 5 minutes into it, he was back in it, and then he climbed the top rope to perform a move. And it's one thing to do a move like that with boots on. This kid was barefoot, you
yeah,
know, and so I mean, and that might have saved him, to be honest. I
yeah,
don't know. Um,
yeah,
but even with boots on, I'd be hesitant and leery to try a backflip onto a ladder. But I sure know, you know, wouldn't try it barefoot.
right,
So yeah,
absolutely.
no, my respect level for, and I'm not a fan of his either per se. I think he's a great performer. He just
Nope, you're stuck again. Hold on one sec, guys. Usually this fixes it. Sorry, guys. We're having all kinds of technical difficulties. Um, there you go, Mark.
all right.
You're back.
Not a huge fan, but you know what? I got to give him a lot of credit, a lot of props, and my respect level for his ability did rise.
Yep. Um, Now, of course, the result of the match was Brodito did retain, but another surprise return, if you will. And I have been calling this for a few months now. I've been saying that we've seen Jack Perry disappear. I called it that he was removed from TV so that the horrible gimmick he did would people would hopefully forget about it. Um, and I predicted that once Luchasaurus got back, we'd see Jack Perry come back and reunite. And that's what happened. Jack Perry returned and reunited with Luchasaurus, and they attacked the Young Bucks. It was good to see those two back. Jack Perry, him being heel, I don't think it will ever work. He looks too much like a natural baby face.
He looks too much like his dad. Um, that was the feel good moment of the night, and to be honest, the crowd probably bigger for that when his Jungle Boy song came on than almost anything else that night. You
Yeah,
know, the
yep,
crowd got into it right quick in a hurry, and they backed the whole process. Um,
absolutely.
I can't say I was a huge fan of Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, but even I kind of smiled and said, "Okay, I can deal with this."
Right. WWE Muro said to subscribe to the channel. I appreciate it. Stick around. We will be going over WWE's Wrestlepalooza here in a moment, my man. Um, Next was the main event, Hangman Adam Page versus Kyle Fletcher. This was another match that I was torn about because on one hand, it's something that we've really never seen. But on the other hand, I'm like, how good would they be together? And I tell you what, they had a damn good match. Um, and of course, Hangman Adam Page retained. After this match, we seen a tombstone power driver, multiple false finishes, and Fletcher Dillon winning. And I missed something. I need to go way back to the beginning and the match with Edge, a spot where he did the "You Can't See Me" brush, five knuckles, and then he did John Cena's finish. The what's it called again? The
F5.
no, that's Brock Lesnar.
Oh, attitude adjustment.
Attitude adjustment. Yeah, the attitude adjustment. And we had a AEW crowd chanting Cena. Even Brian Danielson, who was at the commentary, said this was an homage to one of Edge's biggest rivalries in professional wrestling. Of course, talking again about John Cena. This was a little shocking that AEW would actually, kind of say something about a WWE, a competitor, not in a positive way, but kind of as an homage, man. So that was pretty cool to see.
I think if they really want to put the wrestling on the map, to be honest, and kind of manage both companies in a positive light, is AEW let Edge go face John Cena one more time in WWE. I think that would put both on the map in a better light.
Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Herb Simmons, it's always a pleasure to see you watching the podcast. He says, "Good afternoon, gentlemen. How are you doing, Mr. Herb? I'm going to be contacted soon. I'll make contact with you soon to talk about the 59th annual CAC reunion in Vegas. I'll be I'll be reaching out to you pretty soon, my man. So kind of the takeaways from the show as a whole. Again, Statlander beats Tony Storm, which is a major shakeup. The CBL pin was surprising and ended Storm's reign abruptly. The return of Pac in the coffin match added an emotional and storyline weight, especially helping Moxley. Returns Eddie Kingston coming back after a leg injury. Jack Perry returned, aligning with Luchasaurus. And I put expectations of performance. Hangman's Page, underscores his spot that he is a top card guy. I think that he's earned his spot there. Then we have, Kyle Fletcher. He's continuing to build credibility. This young man is getting better and better as well. Storylines to watch for. Where does Statlander go now as the women's champion? Especially with talks of her possibly being influenced by the Death Riders. Talk about the relationship alliance between Eddie Kingston and Hook. Again, will Jack Perry and Luchasaurus attacking the Young Bucks? Will this lead into a major, pretty big storyline? And with Pac returning with the Death Riders, it makes them look more ominous. So I would give this pay-per-view a solid B. Solid B.
Yep. I don't really recall too many bad spots or whatnot, or even bad matches. I enjoyed it thoroughly. There were some high spots with Beth Phoenix, Jet Speed, or excuse me, Speedball. Um, Pac showing up, Chris Statlander winning. I mean, there were more surprises than this. The Triple H saying, "Hey, we got a lot of surprises coming tonight." There were more surprises in AEW than WWE did. So yeah, I don't see any point or any reason not to give it a B or better.
Right. Now going into WrestlePalooza. Now look, I'm going to be honest with you. With all of you. Initially, when I was watching this, I made the comment to Mark, who was watching it with me, that AEW was so much better. But this morning, I actually went back and watched WrestlePalooza with fresh eyes. And the reason why I say fresh eyes is this: yesterday was a lot of wrestling, 9 hours to be
Yeah,
exact. And by the time you finish watching AEW, you're already kind of, that mental exhaustion from different, the excitement and the different shocks, and going directly into another, well, a PLE. I don't think that I was as enthusiastic about it as I was watching AEW, just because of just watching a 4 hour show. Now going 4.5 hour show going into WrestlePalooza. So I went back and I watched this with fresh eyes, and I enjoy the show a lot more today than what I did last night, to be honest with you.
okay, fair enough.
So let's get into it. The very first match, they start off strong. Brock Lesnar versus John Cena. This was basically a squash match. They gave John Cena a little bit of offense. We've seen Cena, he landed 3 consecutive attitude adjustments, only for Lesnar to kick out and then respond with 6 F5s in total. Pinning John Cena. He even went and put a beat down on the referee. Man, Brock Lesnar looked incredible. This man is almost 50 years old. Shit, he looked really, really good. I had a feeling, though, that this would be a squash match. I told you this before the match
Yep.
started, because I'm expecting that this may be John Cena's final appointment, not appointment, final opponent. As I mentioned to you, I'm like, is this too soon for a storyline to happen between these two? With if indeed Brock Lesnar is his final opponent, but as you mentioned out, not with the schedule these two have, because they're not going to be on WWE a whole lot. So they absolutely can drag this until the end of November, which would be John Cena's final PLE. So we were talking about only one PLE left before John Cena's final PLE. So could Brock Lesnar be John Cena's final opponent?
I think so, but I don't know. I guess since we've seen this one, it was such a squash match. I don't care to relive it. I mean, I'll watch it if it happens again, but I don't care to relive it.
Well, I think it was a squash match, though, so that the storyline
Yep.
can really be built. But this is the thing, though. We've seen this already. A few years ago, John Cena, champion, Brock Lesnar made one of his returns again, attacked John Cena. Then the first PLE that I don't remember which PLE it was, but it was for the world championship, Cena versus Lesnar. Lesnar beat Cena's ass. Another squash match for him to win that title, only for the storyline to go on with John Cena figured out a way the next PLE to actually beat Brock Lesnar. So I have a feeling that they went back in their files of former storylines between Cena and Brock Lesnar. They pulled it out and said this was going to work. That's what I'm predicting is going to happen. Terry Zeller said Lesnar looked huge. Like I said, he just looked in massive shape, Mark.
Other than the fact, he's still got the same legs he had when he was 15. You know,
Yeah.
um, my only exception to this is um, John Cena, strength wise, is probably not far behind Brock. I mean, Cena's a big boy and he's got a good bench press. All right. And strength wise, I think he'd probably go pretty close with Brock. All right. Yet you've had Cody Rhodes, who's nowhere near that strength level, and to be quite honest, Brock could probably out wrestle Cody Rhodes any day of the week, to be honest, because of his
and
background. And then you
and
got Cody beating Brock, and then
yes,
John taking a pin this quick and this hard, when I know damn well, John could hold his own against Cody too. And it just, to me, it doesn't make sense. Yeah, I
right,
understand building up Cody, you know, and I give Brock props for taking a pin against Cody, but it's like, come on.
right. And you read my mind because I was going to go into that. I was going to say, but this is my problem. Cody Rhodes being able to beat Brock Lesnar, but yet John Cena. And look, at one time, John Cena at one time was actually bigger than Brock Lesnar. Back when he was doing the bodybuilding thing, back whenever he was performing, Cena has slimmed down a lot since he's come
Back. Oops.
against
You
Kurt
know,
Angle in WWE. Cena used to be a really, really much bigger than what he is. But I agree with you, man. This is my problem with not just WWE, with AEW. They seem to think that us fans has a bad memory and we forget shit. No one forgetting that Cody Rhodes was able to beat Brock Lesnar. So to expect us to believe that John Cena couldn't do more than what he did last night and even beat Cena is ridiculous.
yeah. Well, it's one of the things of, well, look at Rey Mysterio. Yeah, but Rey Mysterio's in a different kind of class, in a different kind of league, and his wins against Big Show or whomever else that he beat that he probably shouldn't have beat because of the size difference is his resilience, his ability to um, work his way out of any kind of move, damn near, you know. And I don't know. There's just that certain something about Ray that you find it a little bit more believable, you know, than two guys that are, height wise are similar, but build wise are 100 pounds off, you know.
Right. And but let's not forget though, let's remember that when Rey Mysterio actually beat the Big Show to win that title that Rey won, they presented it, it made sense because the Big Show actually beat himself. Because if you remember correctly, the Big Show was beating the shit out of Rey Mysterio, threw him outside, threw him against the ring post, ran into the ring, was trying to squash basically Rey Mysterio, but Mysterio moved out of the way, and the Big Show hit that ring post head first, knocking the shit out of him. He got back into the ring, and that led to Ray actually winning that match. So it would make sense that Ray was able to do that because it was at the fault of the Big Show for messing up and injuring himself.
Okay. Then
So that
you
would
got
make sense.
all right. Well, then you got, and I don't want to stray off the path too hard,
Right,
but then you got JBL versus um, Rey Mysterio. JBL's no small guy either.
right,
260, 280, you know, um, and, pretty powerful guy in his own right, you
right.
know.
But you know what? As Terry Zeller brought up, Ray can wrestle. So it brings up the point of, is it the old storyline of the wrestler versus a boxer, who can actually beat who, um, because of Rey Mysterio's ability to be able to wrestle. Um, because you talk about JBL, man, he's a brawler, right? So, wrestling overcame someone who can brawl. Um, but as you said, Rey Mysterio is just on a different level. So it's not hard to suspend our disbelief to see someone like Rey Mysterio be able to get these big wins. Um, And I'm not saying that Brock Lesnar couldn't beat John Cena, and that is difficult for us to suspend our disbelief in a match like that. It's just the fact of, as you brought out, we've seen all these different people be able to beat Brock Lesnar. So to assume that John Cena just couldn't do anything against Brock Lesnar is ridiculous to me. But again, this is going to be the exact same storyline as the storyline 7, 8 years ago. I guarantee you. John Cena is going to overcome Brock Lesnar and end up beating him. Um, and that's how he's going to retire, is with a win over Brock Lesnar, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, it's possible. It's possible. I'm not going to sit there and say different.
Right.
The other thing with Ray though is he does use his size to his advantage. You
But
know,
real
if you've
quick,
ever
Mark,
tried to wrestle,
hold on. Unless you're playing the neighbor, there you go.
he does use the size to his advantage. I mean, if you ever find anybody smaller, they can kind of, maneuver better. You know.
Right. Right.
So, anyways,
Yeah. So next we go to the Vision, Braun Breaker versus Bronson Reed and the Usos, with special guest referee LA Knight. Um, you know, this match was okay. We've seen the Vision get the win. Um, Again, it is what it is. The big takeaway was, did the Vision, were they able to get the ring because of LA Knight? They kind of assumed that LA Knight kind of set up the Usos. But if you watch, before Jey Uso went through the table, you had LA Knight right there with him, and Uso actually was the one that pushed LA Knight out of the way. So I don't think this is going to lead to an LA Knight heel turn, in my opinion, just because of Jay's the one that actually moved LA Knight, so LA Knight wouldn't get hit by Brian Breaker. Um, that spot with Jay going through the table is ultimately what ended the match. But there was basically no rules. This match should have just been called a non-disqualification match, because I mean, they allowed tables, chairs, and everything else in this match. Um, Terry said that he gave the match a 6. I would agree with him. What are your thoughts on that, Mark?
I kind of liked LA Knight being the referee. I think for the most part he was pretty fair. There were some points that he probably gave to either one of them where, well, you probably shouldn't do that, but I'm gonna look the other way. You know, I enjoy LA Knight. I think he has a lot of character to any situation that's going on. Um, the match itself, I thought I expected more from the Usos coming back together for the first time in a couple of years. To be honest,
Right,
I find it difficult that two guys that are about 230, realistically, I don't care what you say, they're 240, 245, yeah, and dad bod years or whatever. All right, but
right,
these guys are probably 230 apiece, going against two guys that are legitimately probably, 50 pounds heavier than them easily, you
right,
know. Um, and, Braun's got a wrestling background too. I don't know about Bronson Reed, but um, give it a 6 would be nice in my opinion. I'd go a 5 to be honest.
right.
On paper, y- this is one of the matches that they're better on the mic against each other than they're better on the
Absolutely,
ring against each other. You
absolutely,
know,
absolutely.
so
Um,
I guess I'd rather see them on the mic verbal jabbing than in the ring verbal or physically jabbing.
right. Yep. Next, we go to what I think was the match of the night for WWE for Wrestlepalooza, and definitely the move of the night. We're talking about Stephanie Vaquera, however you say her
Vaquer,
last name. Vaquera, that's it. God damn, man. And Io Sky for the vacant Women's World Championship. Hell of a match, but I tell you, when Stephanie hit that spiral tap, she hit Io Sky. I mean, dead on. What a
if that was gymnastics, that would have been a 10.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a new champion, who is Stephanie as well. But this is what gets even crazier. Found out post match or post pay per view, PLE, that Stephanie wasn't even 100%. She had been fighting the flu, some other things. She still felt tired and exhausted. She still wanted to go on with the match, though. She wasn't 100%, and she still gave that performance. Not taking anything away from Io Sky. Io Sky looked fantastic as well. Great match. Loved the spiral top move. And I loved after Stephanie beat Io Sky, they both got on their knees, put the championship in between them, and gave each other props by doing the gracious bow that we often see the Japanese wrestlers do. What a match, man.
This kills me because you were so, oh, I don't care about this match. Oh, I don't care about this match. And here you are just praising it. And it was a good match. And the finishing move was phenomenal. I mean,
Yeah. Now,
I don't
hold
know if
on.
Stephanie's ever
Don't
used that
forget.
match before.
Real quick. Don't forget. I went back to watch this fresh though. I really wasn't into WrestlePalooza period because of again just watching 5 hours of
Yeah,
wrestling
no,
beforehand.
yeah. I'm not going to sit there and say I wasn't jaded a little bit. I could
Right,
have been.
right, right.
So, um,
Um,
I don't know if Stephanie used that Spinal Tap move before. I don't recall it.
yeah, I don't either.
Um, she may have, but nonetheless, it was flawless. I mean, it
Yeah,
really was. And like I said, if it was gymnastics, it would have been a 10 because I don't see how she could have done it any better than what she did it.
right. And Terry even agrees that he loved the women's match. And look, there's some other great moments. I mean, look, when Stephanie did that leg whip onto Io Sky twice,
Dragon
holy
screw,
shit, huh?
the
Yeah,
dragon
yeah,
screw,
yeah.
yeah,
It
yeah,
looked painful. Holy
yep.
shit. It literally looked like she was ripping her knee off. I mean, it really did. I mean, just like, again, both Io and Stephanie did an amazing job in this match. When I went back and watched it today, um, I was like, holy crap, how did I not see this last night? But
Right.
again, there's something
There were
that
some holy
there's
shit
something.
moments in that
Yeah,
match.
yeah, absolutely. Look, there truly is something called wrestle fatigue, and that's literally what I had last night was wrestle fatigue after watching the first pay-per-view. Now, I'll tell you, this was not wrestle fatigue when I felt this way. I still felt this way after I watched this match again. AJ Lee and CM Punk versus Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins. And I'm sorry, guys. I know everyone loves AJ Lee. Everyone's excited for her to come back. My opinion is my opinion. I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm saying this is my opinion. I did not think AJ Lee, wrestling wise, looked that great. She looked tremendous physically, but wrestling wise, she just didn't look that good to me. Now, I will be a little easy. This is the first time she's been in a ring as far as wrestling on a show in 10 years. So nerves could have taken, been part of the reason why we could have had ring rust, but just wasn't impressed. I really wasn't. The match as a whole just didn't do anything for me.
She felt like, to me, it looked like she was. It's choreographed. I'm not going to sit there and candy coat it. All right. Um, and what I mean by that is it's you go over the match. All right. Now, whether it's physically or verbally, I'm not there, so I couldn't tell you. All right. But they go over highlights of what they want to do in the match or whatnot. And she just seemed like she was a step off or a second away from being in the spots that she needed to be in. All right. Now, was I happy to see AJ Lee in the ring? Yes, I was. All right. Was I a huge AJ Lee fan back in the day? No, but you take 10 years off and come back, I'm going to give you your props and I'm going
Right,
to be happy to see you. I don't care if I didn't like you 10 years ago. You
right,
take 10 years off and come back, I'm going to give you props, so I'm going to be excited to see you. All right. The match as a whole, I think could have gone a whole lot worse. Um, but there were spots that again, somebody was just a second off, and it might not always been AJ Lee, you
right,
know. Um, but yeah, the timing was just not there. I thought it didn't flow as well as I thought it could have or should have. All right,
right,
and yeah, it's easy for me to say that since I've never been in a ring, but you know, whether it's wrestling, football, whatever, we all have our armchair quarterbacks, you
right,
know, and we all have our opinions.
right.
Um, Nonetheless, I did enjoy the show or did enjoy the match. You know, did I expect more? Kind of, but overall I wasn't disappointed.
Right. Now, we've seen AJ and CM Punk. They won. AJ forced Ledge to tap to the Black Widow or the Octopus. Same move. She calls it Black Widow. Now, this is where I'm going to give AJ Lee a huge pat on the back. She put Lynch in the Black Widow twice. And I tell you, was it three times?
I
Well, I
think it
think it
was
did.
three. I could be wrong.
Yeah. Well, it was one of those times that she held on this position for a good minute, right? And if you go back and watch it, if you are not in excellent condition, there's no way you could do this finisher and then literally hang on somebody. I mean, you've seen her body just contorted. If you don't have a strong core, you can't do this finisher. Props for her for hanging it on as long as she did that first time. That was really impressive. It really was. Um, Ultimately, the second time she got it in, she was able to get Lynch to tap. Now, I'm pretty sure that this is going to lead into a storyline with just Lynch and AJ Lee. I'm predicting the next PLE is going to be Lee Lynch for the title.
Now the other thing is, the first time she applied it, it was really sloppy. It was like John Cena trying to do the Canadian Destroyer. Uh, it was just really sloppy. By the time she did it the second or possibly the third time, it was more fluid. All right.
Right,
So, I don't know if AJ Lee was off that step the first time or Becky was out of place the first time. I don't know. I'm not going to sit there and criticize it. But definitely saw the improvement, and you've seen the improvement in AJ through the course of the match too.
right, right.
It's not
Now,
like the whole match was she was out of step. No,
right.
there were parts of the match she was out of step.
Now I tell you the part that really just had me laughing was post match when we seen CM Punk skipping around the ring, or in the ring skipping like his wife does. It was ridiculous. It made me laugh.
Yep, yep. And I told you if he skipped on the way out, I was going to leave the house and go home. All right, you always skipping. I said, yeah, but it's post match, so I don't care.
Next match, the main event: Cody Rhodes versus Drew McIntyre for the undisputed WWE Championship. Cody Rhodes did retain, but man, this match looks like it ended abruptly. Um, McIntyre looked like there's a leg injury. I don't know if it was kayfabe or legit. It was in a botched move or collision near the announce table. That's when Rose was able to get the upper hand. And but again, just the pin itself, it looked very abruptly. So I hope that this was just part of the match. That McIntyre did not hurt his leg, but if he did hurt his leg, I hope it's actually serious.
I thought I seen something that Jey Uso got hurt in this match.
Yep. I think that him getting busted open was accidental.
Hmm. Now,
So
overall, Russellpalooza wasn't bad. I did enjoy AEW better, and maybe I was on wrestling burnout too. I don't know, but I found traditionally I enjoy AEW's pay per views better than WWE traditionally. Um, But Russellpalooza wasn't bad. I think Triple H hyping that there's going to be big surprises was a letdown because I don't think there was any great surprise, to be honest. Um,
yeah, but
and
in all fairness, I mean, look, I know we all love surprises. Is one of the reasons why we tune in, especially to these PLEs or pay-per-views. We want to be surprised, but not every single one can have surprises. There's only so many wrestlers out there that you could bring back for surprises. So
yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. Yeah, but it doesn't always have to be somebody to bring back. Somebody turning heel or somebody turning face or whatever. You know, um, Somebody doing something controversial. I mean, you
right,
know, Piper hitting Jimmy Snuka with a actual coconut. You know, that wasn't really a wrestling match. It was just holy shit. You know,
Right. Right.
and so I mean, it's the little things that add to the event.
Right. Now, according to Terry, he meant Jay, but Jay did get a concussion from that match. So we wish Jay to get well. Um, oh, go back to the Cody Rhodes match though. What did you think about the match between Cody and Drew McIntyre?
It's to me, it's song and dance. We've seen it before. I enjoy Drew because I think he feels he's not a bad guy per se. Um,
Right.
he feels what he's doing and what he's saying is accurate in his mind, and I don't think I've ever really seen anybody come across that way. Well, they probably have come across that way, but they don't present it the way he presents it. You
Right.
know, I'm not the bad guy. What I'm saying is right. You just don't like it. You know, and the fact that he calls himself all like that, I enjoy it.
Right.
Um, the only thing I wish is if you're going to give Drew McIntyre the title, give him the title where he's not during COVID, where he's wrestling in front of TV screens, and it's not 5 minutes. I want to
Right.
see what he can actually do for 3, 6, 8 months or better. You
Right.
know, is he a legitimate world title holder or is he just a title or a placeholder? You know,
Right.
I
Right.
think he's got all the characteristics that you need to be that world champion.
Right. Right. And
But
you know what?
I think he's in that um, Hulk Hogan era, but it's now Cody Rhodes era, you
Right.
know, where they just want Cody to be the face.
Right. Now, no, Terry's saying that he's over Cody, and I kind of agree with him. It's not that I'm over Cody. I'm over the babyface Cody. I definitely want to see a heel Cody Rhodes. Um, Now, other notable moments that I got was surprise Hall of Fame announcement before the main event, which was the Undertaker. Big a surprise appearance to announce Stephanie McMahon, which we've already talked about. Also, this was WWE's first premium live event under the new ESPN Unlimited partnership. Um, and I'm curious. I'm gonna be really curious to see number wise what they did, considering that AEW All Out and WrestlePalooza didn't go head to head, but they did kind of um,
Overlap.
yeah, overlap. So, and as I said last night, I'll be curious to see if the numbers weren't as good for WrestlePalooza the first hour or so of this PLE. Because look, anyone who's watching All Out, who paid the money to watch All Out, they weren't turning this off to watch WrestlePalooza. They're going to get their money's worth. So I'm expecting to see that the numbers for WrestlePalooza actually went up later on in the show. But I am curious to see that. No, overall, I will also give WrestlePalooza a solid B. I agree with you that even after watching it fresh, um, the action was better in All Out, in my opinion. But goddamn, man, WWE has one thing over AEW, and they will for a very long time, which is just the production aspect of the show. And I have to give them credit for that. Because even last night in All Out, there was a couple of times that the camera was focusing on something else away from the action, and we almost missed something that happened in the ring. So yeah, I'm going to give them a solid B as well.
Um, the opening, I don't even know what to call it, monologue with, the presentation of this being ESPN's first
That was
PLE.
great.
That was great,
Yep.
and I don't care. I like AEW, but they cannot produce anything remotely close to what uh, WWE did with that monologue last night.
Right.
I thought it was a great intro. I think Triple H has got the great voice to narrate this sort of thing. He's done it a few times now, um, and that for me kicked off the show in such a good light.
Right.
But it could be the kiss of death too because they did such a good job that it raised the bar, and now. if they don't hit the bar, it's open to greater criticism.
Right. Now, look, this is the thing. And with this, there were a lot of people, including myself, that wasn't happy that they were going to ESPN and now we're going to have to pay whatever we have to pay, which was higher than Peacock, right? But, and again, I was one of those people. I said I wasn't going to get it. I ended up doing it because I am such a wrestling fan that if there's big PLEs, pay per views, I have a hard time not getting it because the one time I didn't get an AEW pay per view, the one time there was a big return. And I'm like, that's it. I'm getting it from now on because you never know. Now, I did basically swap over. I canceled one prescription to a streaming service to get this one, but I'll get more out of the whole Hulu, Disney, and then of course ESPN Unlimited package because of the PLEs. Um, I have to believe I'm not the only one who said I'm not getting it, who broke down and winded up getting it. So, look, I don't think that this move is going to end up being bad at all for WWE. I think that those numbers are going to show that a lot of people who, again, said that he wouldn't actually did.
Yeah, there was a lot of criticism over this, the matches, and even there was a good amount of people that had a hard time signing in to watch it at first. They missed
Right,
like the first 5 minutes or whatnot, and I think that's not uncommon, to be honest. I think I've heard that in other situations similar to this.
right.
Um, I've been a wrestling fan for way too long, and I think anywhere from probably the mid, definitely late '80s, I always had access to pay per views, PLEs, or whatever you want to call them, and it's hard for me not to watch them. And I've been blessed because you've been nice enough to invite me over to watch them and feed me and whatnot. Um, so I've
It's
been
always
very
better
blessed
with
that,
friends, man.
huh?
Watching these pay per views is always better with friends or family. It just is.
Right, right, right. And I'm very appreciative because for years I watched with, two of my high school buddies and one of their older brothers, and COVID put a kill to that. And so I think I went probably 2, maybe 3 years where I was just reading the internet on what was happening because financially I couldn't afford to order the pay per views, and it wasn't that I couldn't afford one; it's just I couldn't afford two of them, in
Right,
a month. And it's like, well, if I'm not going to watch one, I'm not going to watch the other one. All right,
right.
just to be fair, And but you and I have hooked up, and we've done this podcast for what, just about a year now, and
Almost a
you've
year
been
now.
gracious. Pardon me.
Yeah, almost a year now.
Yeah, and you've been gracious enough to open your house to me, and you and your wife have always been great hosts with me, and I haven't always been the best of guests, you know. Um, but and so I'm very thankful that I'm have the ability to watch these pay per views with you. And you're right; it's always better watching with somebody, you know.
Yeah, it
And
is, man.
and I told my wife yesterday. I said, "Well, I'm going over to Kev's house. We're gonna watch two shows today." And I said, and I didn't tell my wife, but I told my daughter, I said, "Yeah, I'm expecting you home about 10:30, 11." And I think we were still had one match to go. It was 10 after 10 last night.
Yep.
I'm like, wow, this went a lot longer. And then we got into a philosophical discussion, which probably took another 45 minutes. By the time I got in my car, I'm like, holy shit, it's 12:30.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yep.
God. I got home and I apologized to my wife. She's like, no, it's good. You need to get out and do things like this once in a while. So I really thought my wife would be put out that I was gone for, I don't know, 10 hours damn near, or 11
Yeah.
hours, and she was cool with it.
Yep.
I think,
Well,
to be honest, she was happy to get rid of me.
yeah. Well, I tell you, I had made the comment on social media, which, by the way, guys, follow me, KG Landry, on Facebook. But I made the comment that yes, it was a great day for wrestling fans because all day wrestling, and as I said, I hate those words. I really hope that we don't have to go through that again of two a PLE and a pay per view back to back because it's brutal. Even as much as I love wrestling, it's like holy crap, 9 hours. You
I
know,
think ultimately it hurt both of them as far as buy rates, to be honest.
right? Right.
You
Yep.
know,
I agree.
because
But anyway,
I
guys,
don't
go
think
ahead.
there's a lot of people that actually went out there and said, you know what, I'm gonna plow through two of these pay-per-views for $75 for the day. You know,
Right.
and granted, I've pissed away $75 on worse things. You know, but I don't know if I'd want to go through another 9 hours for wrestling. To be
Right.
honest.
Right. Nope. I agree. But look, that ends this episode of the recap of All Out and WrestlePalooza. Guys, tomorrow I am going to have the legendary Hall of Famer, the Cooker Bob Cook, on, and not as a co-host. We're going to actually interview him. So that's be
But in the
very
hot seat
interesting.
itself,
Absolutely. So I'm looking forward to that because you never know what Bob Cook's going to say. Please subscribe to the podcast, everyone. Help support us. Thank you all who has supported us, who watches this on a regular basis. I really appreciate it. Tuesday, we'll be doing a recap of Monday Night Raw. Until then, we'll see you guys. Have a great week. Talk to you soon, Mark.
peace.